Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 337. In this episode, you're going to hear from some true badasses and different ways that they find gratitude, because 'tis the season, right, to be grateful. And I know sometimes that has made me cringe because it's felt so hard to be grateful, or I just get sick and tired of the same old gratitude practices. So this episode, you're going to hear from new guests. Last one, you heard from the first couple hundred episodes of the Ordinary to Badass podcast and what guests had to say about gratitude. And this is a more recent, more updated one, what the last, say, 100 guests or so have said about gratitude. I know that it will be so helpful because it's not the same canned answers that you always hear. Let's get to it.
Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
First, you'll hear from Carolina Ayala, and Carolina shares, if you want more happiness, then have more gratitude. And she talks about an idea of a positivity journal or a positive journal. So listen to this. If you like what Carolina has to say, go back to episode 285. Here's Carolina. So realizing that happiness is in our control and we have control of maybe not the outcome, but of how much happiness we have in our life. Then what do you do from there? Like, what do you do to actually implement it?
Well, you started doing things that make you happy. That's what you need to know, because for me, happiness has many levels, right? Physical happiness, emotional happiness, mental happiness, right? Family, you can create different situations to be happy, but you have to know what makes you happy. So it's a process of exploring yourself, of knowing what you can do. And it's important to remember this, that your happiness cannot depend on any other person's reaction, because you cannot control anybody. You can only control what you do, what you say, how you think, how you believe. And sometimes we're not even able to control ourselves, right? But that's in reality what you can control. So if you can control that, you can start getting detached from the opinion of other people. Or if somebody reacts like that, oh, I'm so unhappy in my life. No, they are telling you who they are, what they need, what is their issue, but that you will adjust, analyze, change if you have to, but you cannot allow your emotions to be, change for other people. You have to be able to at some way to control your emotions. So how you do that? That's the question, right? There are many ways. One of the most, insightful exercises that I love, because that brings so much happiness and bring you awareness of how much you have, is a gratitude exercise, right? So you can do gratitude in so many ways, right? I like to do what I call a positive journal, right? There are many people that they like to do journaling, right? And they write down everything that happened in their life. Most of the time, people focus on the challenges, right? But the journal that I recommend is a positive one, because part of happiness is to celebrate your accomplishments and to remember that you are good enough, that you can make it happen, that you can achieve your dreams, right? So what I recommend is that the tendency is that when something negative happens into your life, you put so much attention. Oh my goodness, look what happened to me. But all the good things that you do during the day, nobody talks about it. You don't acknowledge that. That's not important. And that's the first shift that you need to do to be able to be happy within, right? So the journal is like every day, you will write down things that make you happy, accomplishments, something that, spark your heart, that you say, wow, it was such a beautiful sunset, right? whatever positive you will write down every day. So that will train you to focus on positive things in your life, to celebrate small things, right? I went to the gym. I eat healthy. I sleep well. Many things. I achieved this at my work. I got an email with congratulations for what I did. Anything. Because we take it for granted. And energetically, whatever we focus on will tend to multiply, magnify, and manifest. So the tendency is to focus on the negative. Guess what we are energizing? We don't want that. So when you start doing this positive journal, you start noticing, wow, the more you write down, the more you notice things. Oh, I'm good at this, I'm good at that. I was able to do this. Look, I didn't know that this person told me, thank you, you make my day for this and that. So the more you acknowledge that, the more of that you will create. And that's because happiness also comes with certainty, right? With that feeling of everything is good. And you can create it by doing that, by focusing on what is good in your life.
Next up is Angie Wisdom, and she shares how you can incorporate gratitude into your morning routine. This will be a game changer.
Yes. I love my morning routine, and it hits some of my values, right? Because I love the alone time. I love the peace and tranquility I get from it. There's a little spirituality component in there. So first thing in the morning, and I believe that you have to do this before you look at your phone, your computer, anything else. We need like this perfectly clear mind that hasn't worried about other people, that hasn't dug into what clients need or friends need, just your pure, perfect mind. And you show up with that and you're telling yourself, this is for you. I'm giving you this time, right? And it takes 15 minutes, but it's about, first of all, asking yourself, how do I feel? Because you creating that awareness around yourself gives you the ability to make changes. And I don't want to sidetrack too much, but you know how some people say, well, I had a horrible day today. It started first thing in the morning. Like they didn't have a choice, right? It was horrible right out of the gate. And so the rest of the day went that way. This is your opportunity when you ask yourself, how do I feel? For you to express it. If you feel horrible, I feel horrible. But then that second piece is, what do you want to do to make a change about it? And that's where you're empowered to choose a different thought. So that creates that mindset. So we're working on awareness and then the mindset to choose a different thought. Then I go into intentions. What are your intentions for the day? You may have 2, you may have 5. Those are really like the things that you are going to accomplish today. It may be how you show up, or it may be something very specific. I'm, going to call 10 of my past clients. I'm going to do this project for my kids, art fair, whatever it may be. But your intentions are a very solid commitment. They shouldn't be on there unless you're intending to get them done. That's building up trust, right? Because you set out to do what you said you'd do. And it's also allowing you to drive the car. You're not just going, okay, what does everyone have for me today? You're saying, this is what I'll accomplish. After the intentions, I move into gratitude. Got to be grateful, changes your mindset, creates that abundance mindset, also allows you to see opportunities from negative situations. And then I move into prayer. And regardless of whether you're religious or it's the universe, whatever your belief is, just putting out there what you want is a powerful thing. It's like you kind of projecting that and taking ownership of it and putting it out there. So that's my morning routine process. And the best thing about it is that when you do that for yourself every single day before anything else, imagine the trust you build with yourself.
Next, you're going to hear from Danielle Matthews, and she talks about how her challenges that she's faced have given her gratitude. She really has an interesting perspective on this that I think you're going to appreciate. If you want to listen to her episode, it's called It's All in Your Head, and I will link to it in the show notes.
I would say with my injury, like for me at that moment when I was told this is permanent, something just switched in me. And I said, you know what? Life is a game. And if I knew how to win the game, it wouldn't be any fun. right? Like, who wants to play a game that they know how to win immediately? Like, there's no joy in that, because the joy is in the struggle and learning, wow, what do I have inside of me to be creative? How can I come around this? How can I get through this obstacle? And, who can I pull in to support me? That's the fun of a game. And if you look at life that way and you stop taking it so seriously and you say, all right, there's new rules on the game. Okay. So that's what I looked at it. It's okay. So this accident has happened. I'm very limited, physically, but I said I can make a difference to my emotional side of things, because I was having panic attacks. I mean, I was full of anxiety, depression. Like, I didn't know what the next hour of my life would look like, let alone I couldn't think about my future and I couldn't earn. So you can imagine, like, the world seemed like it was crumbling. But I said, all right, well, what can I do? And so I just started to shift, like, what is possible? What can I do within these limitations? And I started to realize, like, well, I can start like drawing. Like, I'm a scientist. Okay. That's my degree. It's biology. Like, there was no creative aspect to me, but I said, well, let's just do it. I picked up like a, something, and I started just making scribbles. And then I opened up all these things. I'm not like a great artist by any means, but it was like this opening of like, okay, maybe there's things I haven't explored. Maybe I need to change my perspective. And I always ask myself the question, what's this challenge making possible? And so for me, it was like, okay, it's making it possible for me to spend more time with my grandparents. Like, they were fine to sit in a dark room and talk to me. Do you know how much wisdom my grandparents hold? Like, they've all now since passed. And I am so grateful that I had several years where I got to spend, like, I went to my one grandparents for 6 weeks. I just went and I lived with them, and I got to spend so much time. I learned about the history of how, like, my ancestors from Italy came over and all this stuff. And it wasn't that many generations back, looking at pictures and things. It's just like, it is phenomenal what's in front of us. But I think we get such tunnel vision about like what we're doing, and we're so focused that we forget about the rest of the world that's happening. And for me, I got put on the sidelines of life, and I had to look at the bigger picture. And I'm so grateful, because now my perspective with everything, any obstacle, anything that comes in the way, I'm like, all right, well, what's this one making possible? Right? Maybe it's guiding me in a different direction.
Next, you're going to hear from Jesse Torres from episode 293. And this is a tough one. Jesse talks about using gratitude even when somebody triggers you. So I have a lot to learn from this. Thought it would be helpful, a different way to think of using gratitude. Here she is.
And what's coming to mind is, I think effective communication starts with honoring. I think that sometimes we feel so hurt that we bite or we blame, or which is already going to build a defense. And I've had to learn this, my mom, who's just such a beautiful woman, is one of my greatest teachers, because she triggers so much in me, right? And because I love her, I want to create an eloquent opportunity for expansion of our relationship versus respond with a triggered emotional state of being. So honoring the space. So I appreciate that you're upset, or I appreciate that, this happened, and here's what came up for me. Like, you can speak on it, but I think sometimes, and everybody's situation is different. You might be in an abusive relationship. You might be in a situation where someone is not able to hear you. And that's where you need, it might be a situation where you speak to a friend, or you speak to a coach, or someone, even at the park bench while you got the kids on the playground, and just say, you know what, here's what, I'm experiencing in the moment, and share like you're a friend. And on these 10 tips, you'll have some resources in there, but just speak on it to someone that is safe, right? That you can just open that door, and honoring, hey, I honor that you come here to the park every day, and I have something that I'd love to share. I feel okay doing it. Is that okay for you? Right? Like, just honor the human that you're about to share with, and open that door so that they can decide. It's just like, no, actually, I'm going through a lot myself, and I'm afraid. And that's beautifully okay. It's just like, okay, great. And then go to another person, or they'll say, of course, share, and it's totally up to you what you express, but at least you open that door. And when you honor the other human being, they listen differently. They listen without a defense, or they listen without a statement ready to bark back, because you've already honored them. As an example, my mom, I lived in this like 500 square foot little place for a while by the beach. And it was at a moment in time when I was ending a different relationship. And I loved it because I could walk to the beach and it was just me and my dog. And after like 5 years, I was like, okay, I need a bigger space. So I moved into this like 1,800 square feet, not a big deal, but I had no furniture. I had to fill this house. And my mom comes over, who's always like in this scarcity mindset. And she's like, well, look at this big house. And who's going to clean it? And oh my gosh, you need to put furniture, and that's going to be expensive. And I give her drawer liners to line my drawers, and she's like, Jesse, these are $9.99 at Bed Bath & Beyond. They're 99 cents at the dollar store. Let's go to the dollar store right now. I mean, literally, this is what she was doing, right? So we go to 5 different stores it was Labor Day weekend furniture sale, right? And I'm doing my own mindset work around scarcity because of how I was raised. And so I stop for a second, I take a deep breath, and I imagine my 3 kids, each on a recliner, blankets, popcorn, movie night at my house. I get a smile on my face, and I hand over my credit card with joy, and we're walking out of the store, and my mom's like, well, look at you just pulling out your credit card. And I was triggered. I was like, okay, I'm so done with this conversation. And so I took a deep breath, recalibrated, and got to the car, and I said, Mom, you know what? I want you to know something. I want to thank you because you have taught me so well with my money that every time I pull my credit card out, I do it with conscious awareness and gratitude. Like I really think through it because you've taught me so well. But you know what? Every single time you mention my spending, I go, oh, I did it wrong. Oh, I did it wrong. I screwed it up. And she goes, really? Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize it. I'm like, yeah, isn't that crazy? That's where my mind goes. So I owned responsibility for what I was making it mean, but I shared with her to give her the opportunity to recognize that this is what happens when she says that stuff. And she immediately goes, I didn't even realize. Like it was just her model of the world. And then now she had a different reference, and it expanded our relationship, and it allowed us to become even closer. So there's a way to effectively communicate that opens the door to be heard.
Megan Eddinger from episode 235 shares how journaling can help with stress and gratitude. Kanna Laird from episode 271 is up next, and she talks about how we can appreciate parts of our body that we hate. This is a tough one. Hear what Kanna has to say.
Yeah, so what I do with my clients is that I have them write down what they hate about. So we'll start from head to toes, right? And then my hair is this, my eyes are this, my nose is this, my mouth is this. And then write down on your left side and then sit with it. So let's say my hair, I'm losing my hair, right? And is there any positive side of it? Or is there anything you can do about it? So we just did it yesterday. Well, I can buy this DV thingy. Well, that's great. That's like for the hair loss, right? So just finding joy out of what you went through. So when you go through the list, it's dark. Oh, so many things that I hate about. And then can you find the joy out of it? Think about how can you reframe that thoughts to something different? It doesn't have to be absolute positive. If it can be fun, light, that's a great start. I hate my thighs. Sit with it. I hate my thighs. But with a bit of guidance. So now you have a guidance here today. You hate your thighs, but then maybe your prompt will be, but what if I lose them? Do you rather have them or not? Do I rather have them or not? I guess I do. And then can you see your legs as a gratitude that you have legs? And then maybe after writing, say, I am grateful that I have legs. And then maybe 30 days later, you might be able to say, I'm grateful for my thighs because they're strong to push that big couch. Just simple transition, but make it fun. Prompt, do you rather, what is something you can appreciate it.
Meagan Norris from episode 163 asks a powerful question. And so this is a way to think about gratitude. I'm not going to tell you the question, but her question helps to think about gratitude in a different way that I haven't quite heard before. And it's really had me reflecting. Here she is.
The first thing is have compassion with where you are. So how are you feeling? That feels awful, right? Whether it's anxiety or fear or just dissatisfaction. Let's process that. And then let's start to figure out why that pattern is present in your life. And a lot of times it comes back to a disconnect between our heads and our bodies. So we're so good at disconnecting from our feelings. We have all these thoughts like, I love my life. I wanted this life. I created what I wanted here, but I don't feel anything except for anxiety. And it's oftentimes just because we've just disconnected. We don't want to feel the anxiety. So we're like all up in our head, and I can think the thought, I love my life, but I don't feel love in my body. I don't feel excitement or joy. And so beginning where we are, processing that, and then looking for the places where we can have gratitude and experience abundance in terms of what we already have, right? What do I already have that I would choose all over again? I love my house. I would buy it again, right? I love my dog. I would adopt her again. And really appreciating our past self for creating the things we have today that we love.
Megan Eddinger from episode 235 shares how journaling can help with stress and gratitude. Here's what Megan had to say.
A huge proponent of journaling. So taking the time to journal about your day and what went well and what didn't go well and what could make tomorrow a better day, those types of things, and then acting on them instead of being on social media, start to act on those things that you've identified.
So how often do you journal? And is it like usually in the morning, at night, or just whenever the mood strikes you?
I love that question. I have so many different journals for so many different reasons. It used to be that I would only journal on occasion when I was really in my feels. Now I have a journaling practice that I do most mornings, not every morning, but it's like a list of gratitude, 5 things I'm grateful for, and then 10 goals that I'm working on, or 10 things that I want to keep top of mind. Some of them are like, I want to be a present and calm and patient mom. So that's a reminder to me that when I'm around my kids, I'm not on my phone, because I can't be present with my kids if I'm scrolling social media. Things like that. And then I have a journal that I use every single night. That is a hard and fast. Every night I do my journal, and I track my mood for the day, something that went well today. And then some habits, like what habits did I do and not do today? And I can talk more about that in a minute, and then the last journal I have is just my free write journal. And that's something that I do here and there, not always. And I'll do it whenever the mood strikes me. Sometimes it's in the afternoon, sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's at bedtime. But really it's just to get thoughts out of my head and onto paper. And what that does for me is a couple of things. One, it helps me just like sort out my thoughts. Because sometimes when you keep everything up in your head, everything feels like it's such a big deal. But when you actually get it out on paper and you can see it, it's like, oh, I don't know why this is taking up so much space in my head, because it's actually not that big of a deal. So you can see where you're making things a bigger story, and allowing more like time and energy and mental space to that thing. It helps bring up things that I didn't even know I was worrying about. So again, if you're feeling like anxious or you're feeling very weepy this week, like a lot of times with women, we like to blame that on our period, which can be true. But also if you journal, you'll start to see like, oh, I didn't know that this was bothering me. And then you can act on that thing, whether it's having a difficult conversation with someone you love, asking for a new project at work, whatever it is, you can start to act on those things. But yeah, and then also to-do lists. I have to get my to-do list out of my head and onto paper, and that helps me really prioritize, because when you have 1,000 things on your to-do list, when you can look at it and say, okay, these are the things that absolutely have to get done today. These are the things my husband can do. These are the things my kids can do. These are things I can delegate to someone else at work. And if these 15 things don't ever get done, it actually doesn't even matter. That's really helpful too.
With that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass, and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.